What is it, do you think, about your game that has people just can't wait to see you on the professional level?
I think it's just the style of basketball that I play. To be honest, I don't get nervous for games because I just know this is fun for me.
Just moments after another breathtaking performance on the court, Caitlin Clark settled in at the podium for the usual post-game questions. But then, a veteran reporter said something so unexpected, it completely flipped the script. For the first time in recent memory, Clark was left speechless. What was the question, and why is it still the talk of the town? Stick around as we break down the shocking moment that stunned Caitlin Clark. The post-game media conference was buzzing. The Indiana Fever had just secured a crucial 94-87 victory over the Las Vegas Aces at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Clark led the charge with what many called her best all-around professional performance yet. Her stats looked almost unreal: 28 points on 11 of 18 shooting, including 6 three-pointers from 10 attempts, plus 12 assists, 5 rebounds, and only 2 turnovers over 38 minutes of play. This win catapulted Indiana into playoff contention with just weeks remaining in the regular season. The press room was electric, cameras flashing, reporters scribbling notes furiously, and Clark answering questions with her trademark calm confidence and fiery passion. ESPN's Holly Rowe had just asked about Clark's growing chemistry with teammate Aaliyah Boston, especially how their pick-and-roll connection helped put up 18 points in the paint against Las Vegas. Clark smiled and replied, "The trust between us is really building. Ollie has been patient while I adjusted to the pace at this level. Tonight it felt like we were reading each other's minds." At that moment, all eyes turned to Stephen A. Smith, who had been unusually quiet throughout the entire 15th press conference. Known for his loud, passionate takes on first take, his reserved demeanor caught everyone off guard. Then, slowly standing, Stephen A. set aside his usual theatrics, no big gestures, just a serious, thoughtful expression. His voice lowered, and the mood shifted. It was no longer just another post-game interview. Something deeper was about to unfold. "Caitlin," he began, "I've been doing this for over 30 years. I've talked to thousands of athletes, rookies, champions, and those who never quite made it. But there's something I've been meaning to ask you since I really started watching you this season." The room fell silent. Reporters stopped typing mid-sentence. Camera operators leaned in. Even the Fever's media staff, preparing to wrap things up, froze in place. Stephen A. continued, "I've built my entire career on being honest and cutting through the noise." Stephen A. Smith is known for his honesty even when it means being brutally critical. That's his job, his brand. He doesn't hold back. If he thinks an athlete isn't delivering, and he never apologizes for holding high standards. But this season, watching Caitlin Clark handle the pressure, the expectations, and the jump from college to the pros, he's had to rethink everything. Pausing, rubbing his face like a man wrestling with real emotion, Stephen A. admitted, "There's something I should have said a long time ago. Honestly, I owe you an apology." Then came the question that stunned everyone. How do you keep showing such grace and professionalism, even when people like me, especially me, have been unfair? I've been too harsh, too quick to judge, and sometimes just plain wrong about your journey to the pros. I have to be honest with you, and with everyone here. You've proved a lot of us wrong, and you deserve so much better than some of the things that have been said, especially what I've said. And how did Caitlin Clark respond? For the first time in her pro career, maybe even since high school, the usually composed Clark was speechless. This was the same player who'd faced hostile crowds at Michigan State, stayed calm under the pressure of the Final Four at Iowa, and handled the relentless spotlight as the most talked about rookie in WNBA history. But now, she just sat there, mouth slightly open, hands resting still on the podium, as if trying to process the moment. "Wow," she finally whispered, voice trembling. "Honestly, I don't know what to say. I really don't have words right now." The room went silent. Everyone knew they were witnessing a rare, genuine moment, unscripted and raw, in a world dominated by rehearsed media appearances. Even her teammates Kelsey Mitchell and Nelisa Smith, who were on their way to the team bus, stopped and turned around. Clark tried again, still clearly emotional. "You asking that question, being willing to say what you just said, it means more than you know. Yeah, it's been tough sometimes, the criticism, the non-stop comparisons to my college stats. People doubted if I could really make the jump from Big Ten to WNBA, wondered if the hype was too much, if I was ready." She paused, took a deep breath, steadying herself. "But you know what? All that criticism pushed me. It made me work harder in the gym, study more film, prove not just to others but to myself that I belong here, that I can be the teammate and player this league needs, and that the fans who believe in me weren't wrong." Looking up, her voice firmer now, she added, "Hearing you admit that some early criticism wasn't fair, it's honestly overwhelming, but in the best way." What came next? Stephen A. nodded slowly, pulling out handwritten notes from his jacket. "This wasn't off the cuff, was prepared. There's more I need to say. I need to own my past words because I've said things on TV that weren't fair or fully thought out. It's time to take responsibility." He read aloud, voice heavy with regret. "3 months ago on First Take, I called you overhyped. Said the media, especially ESPN, was inflating your hype to boost ratings. I questioned whether you had what it took to succeed, if you were strong or fast enough, if college success would translate to pro basketball. While some of that is a reality check, I dismissed everything you'd already accomplished." Clark's teammates, Aaliyah Boston and Erica Wheeler, now stood quietly at the back, visibly moved. Stephen A. continued, voice growing passionate. "But here's what I've learned since. You're averaging 19.5 points and 8.4 assists per game as a rookie. For comparison, Diana Taurasi averaged 17 points and 4.4 assists in her first year. Sue Bird had 14.4 points and 5.9 assists. You're putting up numbers that place you among the best rookie seasons ever." Looking Clark in the eye, he said, "But stats don't tell the whole story. You've brought more attention to women's basketball than we've seen in decades, maybe ever. League attendance is up 48% on the road. TV ratings have tripled. Jersey sales shot up over 200%. Beyond that, it's how you lead, credit teammates, handle pressure, and elevate everyone around you." His voice cracked with emotion. "I was wrong. I doubted you, questioned your readiness, and judged you by old standards. But you're not just a great rookie, you're changing the entire game of women's basketball. For that, I owe you, the league, and my audience a real apology." The room exploded. Cameras flashed wildly as reporters scrambled to capture the powerful moment unfolding. A turning point that would resonate far beyond this press conference. Caitlin Clark's emotional response instantly changed the room's atmosphere. Reporters quickly began typing and recording, realizing they were witnessing a deeply powerful moment. Holly Rowe, a seasoned ESPN reporter who had covered many unforgettable events, was visibly moved, wiping tears away as she took notes. Adrian Wojnarowski, known for his calm coverage of major NBA news, pulled out his phone to record, sensing the significance unfolding. Sue Bird, attending as an ESPN analyst, stood and began clapping, her gesture sparking applause throughout the room. The ESPN crew led the way, followed by journalists and even Indiana Fever staff, all swept up in the moment. Aaliyah Boston, Clark's teammate, quietly approached the podium and placed a gentle hand on Clark's shoulder, silent but powerful sign of support. The gesture seemed to steady Clark as she faced dozens of cameras and reporters still trying to process what just happened. Then, with her voice steadier, Clark spoke directly to Stephen A. Smith. "You don't need to apologize to me. Sports media should challenge us, hold us accountable, and ask the tough questions. What truly matters is your willingness to rethink when new facts come to light. That takes real strength and honesty." She scanned the room, locking eyes with reporters who'd been critical early in her career. Clark continued, "Honestly, that criticism pushed me. It made me work harder, not just to prove something to fans or media, but to prove to myself that I belong here, that I can compete and win at this level, make the leap from college to pros, and maybe even master it." The conversation shifted when Adrian Wojnarowski raised his hand, asking, "Caitlin, reflecting on Stephen A.'s point about rethinking coverage, how has the media's approach to women's basketball changed since you joined the league, and what do you want to see next?" Clark took a moment before answering thoughtfully. "We've definitely gotten more attention, which is amazing, not just for me, but for young girls looking up to us and the women who've built this league over the years," she said. "More attention means more pressure, but that's okay if the criticism is fair and based on facts." She glanced at Stephen A., who was listening intently. "What I respect about him now is his growth. He's willing to listen and learn. Covering women's sports isn't just copying men's sports coverage. It's something new, meaningful, and it needs to be understood in its own context." Rebecca Lobo, another ESPN analyst and former WNBA star, joined in. Rebecca asked, "Caitlin, you mentioned using criticism as motivation. How have you managed the pressure of being seen as the face of this new era in the WNBA?" Clark smiled, confidence fully restored. "That's just it," she said. "I never planned to be the face of anything." Then, Stephen A. Smith surprised everyone again. He sat back down, reached into his jacket, and pulled out a small, worn piece of paper folded many times, clearly cherished. "Caitlin," he said, "there's one more thing I wanted to share. My daughter plays basketball in middle school, in New York. She's followed your journey since your junior year at Iowa, a while ago. She wrote you a letter when I was being critical about your start. She made me promise to give it to you if I ever met you in person." He handed the letter to Clark, who unfolded it carefully, her expression shifting from curiosity to surprise, and then deep emotion. Her eyes lit up, and a warm smile spread across her face, almost bringing tears. "Would you mind if I read part of this out loud?" she asked. Stephen A. nodded. "I think everyone should hear it," she said, her voice filled with joy and feeling. After reading, the room erupted in laughter and applause. Reporters clapped for Maya's honest, heartfelt words, and Stephen A. smiled, saying, "She's definitely not wrong about that last part," setting off another round of laughter. The moment had transformed from a routine press event into one of genuine warmth, humor, and human connection. So what do you think about the reporter's unexpected statement that left Caitlin Clark speechless? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.